welcome to the Claytonix Media Splash, brought to you by Claytonix Productions. And I'm your host, Clayton Christopher Wood. Today I'm joined by special guest, Dylan Powers. He's a filmmaker like myself and gaming place person.
That's me, gaming place person. Thank you, Clayton.
Alright, so I guess the first thing we'll talk about is how we met back in film school and, beyond from that.
Yeah, man. I remember Clayton and I met, it was probably our first or second day of college at Living Arts College. We were both film students, and I remember in orientation, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I've told you this before.
Oh, yeah, the pen.
But I saw Clayton, and I always thought Clayton just looked goofy. I was like, that dude looks... You just look like you had a really interesting personality, you know? You can really spot people like that out of a crowd sometimes. And that first day at orientation, I was like, that dude looks interesting. And sure enough, you're probably one of the coolest people at the school.
I appreciate that. Man, and vice versa.
Yeah, we had... And, we just went through classes and stuff, and I think over time just found out, we had similar interests in film and shows or games, anything really.
Yeah.
And it just kind of happened naturally. Working on set together, going to class, ate a lot of food.
Hell yeah. a lot of food.
a lot of Wendy's and Subway.
Yeah. And Sergio's. And that other place, what was it? La Tapatilla? Or something like that.
Tlaquepaque.
Yeah. we started hanging out from there. And then, I remember the jean jacket kid. This
jean jacket, jean shirt, jean hat.
Yeah.
There was this guy in our class, and he was a great guy, and he did awesome work, but he had the strangest style of clothing.
Yeah.
Not just jeans, but they were jean brand jeans. And he had a jean branded hat and a jean shirt.
Everything was jeans with this guy, yeah. He was pretty loud too. He was quiet, but then every now and then he would just be like, ah! He would just, freak out.
Yeah, there was something going on with him.
Yeah.
He was a great guy.
Yeah, he was
really,
a good guy, yeah.
Really sweet guy, but there was something going on.
He was funny, too. I remember in the library, and he was just standing on a sofa, ripping magazines down. We had some kind of project, and I was like, wow, this guy just really doesn't give a shit.
Just, first week, just standing on the couch ripping magazines.
Yeah, I'm like, man, we just got here, man. Sheesh.
No hesitation at all.
He's like, I'm paying all this money. I'm going to do what I want.
I'm going to stand on this couch,
and
I'm going to rip these damn magazines. And no one's going to do it back.
Yeah, I was like, all right.
Not while I'm wearing my jean jacket.
Yeah, I know. It's the jean jacket made him, impenetrable. All right, so back to what we're talking about. We're going to next talk about what you've done, or what you do now, your job at the Epic Games. And so, go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, so Clayton, right after college, I think it was a couple weeks before I graduated, I got a job at Epic Games as a game capture specialist. And the biggest game at Epic Games right now is Fortnite. And I was a big Fortnite player before working there. And they had this competition this one time called the Fortnite Blockbuster event. And I remember I stayed up for probably, I think it was around 30 hours straight that night, working with a couple friends of mine. And it was just to make this short film in Fortnite's replay system. Yeah. And so I went out to Best Buy and I bought an Elgato, which is something that lets you record your gameplay. And I got home and I was like, oh, sweet, I'm going to plug this bad boy in and I'm going to record all this footage of this stuff we shot. And then I found out that my computer's not strong enough to even use the Elgato. So I was like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? How am I going to turn this in?
Shit, that is something.
So I called up our mutual friend, Will Roberts, most reliable dude ever.
Great guy.
I called up Will and I rode up to his house and stayed almost all night there just working and recording this thing. But wow. I used a lot of the films I'd made and some of the stories I'd written and the cinematography I'd done mixed with my Fortnite Blockbuster submission video, and I incorporated that into my reel and got a job at Epic.
Wow.
And what a game capture specialist does is I'm essentially on their capture team, and we make the gameplay trailers you see for Fortnite. you can go on their YouTube channel and I'd say almost every single gameplay trailer of the past year, I'm definitely in. And a lot of the times I get to record the footage that gets put into them, and it's a lot of fun coming up with ideas for trailers as well. It's a lot of fun, and it's really cool because I get to exercise a lot of the things that I'm interested in, like script writing and narrative, and sometimes even directing. There are people above me a lot of times that do more of the directing, but sometimes we get to kind of do that as well. It's a really great place to work. They really welcome people who want to grow. And it's an amazing job. And that's where I've been for the past year and a couple months, working at Epic Games.
Well, that's awesome. And that's a great thing about the two worlds between, like, video games and film. They're really almost like, they kind of feed off of each other. Whether you have a game that's based off of a film or sometimes a film that's based off of a game. And the story is present in both of those mediums. And, I think, gaming is the more graphics get better and the stories get just bolder, more from the, you used to just have the run and jump games, and now you've got all these crazy,
like
plots.
Super hyper realistic immersive games that really sometimes it's hard to look at them and know that it's still a game. It almost seems real, or it seems like a film itself.
Yeah, and with VR, it's even crazier, because, I try that stuff, I could not believe it. It's insane.
VR's great when you're not feeling like you're going to throw up.
Yeah, I know. That motion sickness does get to me when I get to do those things.
Man, did you ever play the Resident Evil 7 VR demo?
I don't think I did play that, but that sounds really cool.
That's the biggest VR experience I've had. And Resident Evil's known for just being, like, scare the shit out of you. And that demo was horrifying, dude. There's a part where your character you're playing as gets stabbed in the leg.
Oh, man.
I swear, I, like, jerked up, and I was like, oh!
Sheesh. Yeah, dude, that's like a dream. Sort of like a dream.
It's crazy how realistic it feels. But to piggyback off what you were saying, I totally agree. I think it's really interesting how the more technology kind of evolves and the more people learn, the more it becomes apparent that at the end of the day, all games and artwork and film and any kind of book or anything, it's all about telling a story at the end of the day. And games are interesting as they give a power to the player in which you feel like you have a stake in the world you're playing in.
Exactly.
Even older games like Donkey Kong Country, where they're mainly made to be played. It's about the gameplay, but they would still have somewhat of a story in there.
Yeah.
And the way everything would kind of culminate, it would tell you this journey that you as the player are going on through Donkey Kong's Island, for example.
Yeah.
And through the music and the atmosphere. It's like you're creating your own story in a sense. And it's just interesting how as things evolve, it becomes more apparent that all we want to do as creators is tell someone something. Make them feel something, Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like there's several ways to tell stories. You've got comic books, you've got films, you've got now video games is a big part. And the interesting thing you're saying back, the reader, instead of just the reader, you've now got an extra. You've got the reader interacting like he could never interact before because he's actually playing the game.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing about it. Like, you put yourself in your hero's shoes if you're watching a movie, but you're not controlling what he does. And that's where gaming kind of comes in and really takes it immerses you. Yeah,
it's like an extra layer of immersion. It's really powerful in that sense as well. And there are some games where I mean there are just as many games where I think the narrative is just incredibly powerful, just as many films as well. And it is crazy as things keep going. Eventually I wonder how much longer it'll be until. I wonder if there will ever be a time where film and game are just the same.
Yeah.
And it's just some new, media term.
I think it might be going that way just because, that would be insane, but I remember when I was a kid, and my mom would talk about, oh, one day, you know, computer and the TV is going to be one thing, and now that's sort of happening, so I'm thinking that gaming and, like, film could one day, that's crazy, but, you know, you've got point of view films, like, what was it, Hardcore Henry or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you've got point of view games, and the graphics are getting better. It's just like,
Or like
you got like Bandersnatch too.
I was gonna say Bandersnatch was amazing.
Yeah.
That it was crazy that to have. First off, I love Black Mirror. I would kill
so good.
to meet with the people that
Yeah.
write those shows and just pick their brain about ideas.
I bet.
Bandersnatch was so crazy because it's a film, but you watch Bandersnatch and 4 hours go by and you're like, holy shit, like I'm still watching the same film, but I'm like playing. It was, man, that was such a
those
cool
are weird.
experience. And to like Until Dawn, you've played Until Dawn, right?
Yeah.
Or at least heard of it. Until Dawn, it's essentially a playable movie. But in game form, it's just a narrative that you play through yourself. I need to play. The creators of Until Dawn made this game called Man of Medan, and it looks really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, like the Dark Pictures Anthology, I think is what the series is called. I kind of want to check that out.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the kinds of games I love too. The one, like, I'm not a big like online. I mean, I like online play, but I'm not big into that because one, it's really hard and people shoot you like. You go down really, really easy, and I'm just like not about that because you have to like to get real good at that. You have to like do it every day, and it's like I can't do that every day. But the other, like, I like the fantasy, the player one, the story mode. That's my classic thing. And seeing the fantastic worlds that you're in, because I've always loved that, being transported into a different world. You know, the fantasy, sci-fi, stuff like that.
What was a game growing up for you that really hit you hard and kind of immersing you in a world, and it like planted seeds and just, like, kind of inspired you to become what you are today and kind of the things you're interested in? For me, games like I know you're gonna agree with this. I've always been a huge Sonic fan.
Yeah, Sonic. Oh my god, he's my boy.
And Sonic games today they're always teetering on some kind of edge.
They got some.
They're either like good or they're really bad.
Yeah, like Sonic Forces. It was,
I've heard Forces was really bad,
yeah.
but it looked amazing in the trailers.
Yeah, I mean it was fun to play. It's a lot, but not like Sonic Mania, because Sonic Mania's got that nostalgia with the 8-bit, I love it.
Games like Sonic Mania and the early Rayman games, the Rayman Adventure games. I used to play those, and it's crazy how, like, when you're younger, you don't have any kind of worries. You can just give yourself to a world so much easier. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a humongous fan of Metroid. And Metroid's my all-time favorite series, but franchises like that are some examples. Like those games, growing up on those are, I think I can see inspiration from those things in the things I want to create today. And it's wild to think back on that.
I think for me, like, Ratchet and Clank was really, like, big for me, because I started liking that, like, 2004, I guess, when it came out, or when it was, and the first one I got was Up Your Arsenal, and I was just like, yeah.
They had so much crude humor.
The humor was,
it was funny.
Awesome. It was a kid's game, but it was so funny, and I'm like, yeah, I'd love them to remaster that series, because that was amazing.
Yeah.
You had, like, Up Your Arsenal, Going Commando,
and then
Deadlock.
I had Deadlock too. That was my favorite one.
And that was, like, PS2, and they didn't make anything, like, after that. They made a movie recently, and they made a game off of that movie, but that was the only thing, like, recently. But I always really liked that game. I thought it was very imaginative, very funny. had just all kinds of cool stuff, cool gadgets, and funny gadgets too. Like what was like the burp gun or something.
They had the craziest stuff in the Ratchet and Clank games.
Yeah.
Did you ever play Jak and Daxter though?
Yeah, I played that. I remember that. I didn't ever own it, but I used to play it at my friend's house.
Yeah, Jak and Daxter was another series that a lot of people were crazy about. It's interesting. I don't think you ever hear someone say that they've played Ratchet and Clank and then be like, no, I haven't played Jak and Daxter.
Yeah, no,
they were so similar.
Yeah, they were similar. Yeah, were they by the same company? I'm not sure. I think they might have been. I don't know.
No, Naughty Dog did Jak and Daxter, and I think it was Insomniac that did Ratchet and Clank.
Also, I remember Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. That was also the...
Rise Up?
Yeah, that thing was awesome. And I remember, so I had that on PlayStation 2, but then also in like 5th grade in computer class one week, they just let us play that like all week.
The best week ever.
Yeah, it was awesome, but I could never figure out how to get the damn Jango Fett, and other kids had it, and I was like, how the fuck are they got Jango Fett? Like, how is this happening? They knew all the cheats or whatever.
Kids and their cheat codes.
Yeah, I know. That was like the beginning of it, too.
You got it written on like a piece of paper.
Yeah, they'd go into the book fair and open the cheat book and like write on notebook paper so they didn't have to buy the book.
Yeah, the teachers are like letting them go to the book fair, and they're like, all right, you gotta get one. Yeah. You gotta get one book. There's that one kid who's like hogging the cheat book.
Yeah. It's my cheat book.
Damn, what kind of book fair was that?
Yeah, I just remember they had cheat code books at the book fair. I had one, but they're obsolete now. It's like
I haven't thought of that in years because they really did used to be in books.
Yeah, they had books
thick books, and it'd have descriptions and stuff. Like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I remember because I had a Game Boy SP and a PlayStation 2, and I would play that. And then I had a PSP, and that was something that was like ahead of its time because it had like the big screen and stuff, but it had a lot of glitches.
The PSP was awesome. I remember breaking the screen on mine like so many times.
Yeah, mine like shorted out. It was like beep, beep. Yeah, it
made that noise.
Yeah, it was just like this big hard drive, and it would make all this noise. It was it would make a lot of noise. Yeah, exactly. It was big, and I was like, man, is this like... then later, when somebody said it was ahead of its time, I was like, yeah, they're kind of right, because it was still like Game Boys, and then this baby came out.
Yeah, I would always make the mistake of putting it in my book bag.
Oh,
and then I'd get on the bus, and I'd play some game or something, and then it'd be in my bag all day, and I remember getting back on the bus on the way home, and I pulled my PSP out, and the screen was just shattered.
Oh, man,
and I was like,
awful.
What did I do? But it's probably just from, I don't know, sitting on the desk at some point, and I just forgot it was in there.
Yeah, I never brought mine to school. I almost did once. My dad was like, son, leave your PSP at home.
We've all heard that.
Yeah, exactly.
Put the games away.
Yeah, exactly. It couldn't fit in my pocket, so I didn't take it. But yeah, that's some crazy, just great like moments about that gaming can have effect on you, and gaming and film and the same thing. Let's talk about now. I know the answer, I think, but what is your favorite film? At least now. Maybe it's different than last time I saw you. I don't know.
Man, this is such an ever-changing question. So, I've got 3 answers. My current favorite film is Annihilation.
Oh, yeah.
God, I love that movie so much. I think my all-time favorite film is still Avatar, despite its criticisms. That film, dude, it made me feel so... I don't even...
Dude, I think I know, because the feeling I got after I saw that movie, I could not talk to any... Like, I couldn't think about anything else the rest of it, and I was like, man, that was so powerful.
It was so immersive, and I just don't think I felt that in so long. And I mean, despite what anyone says, I fucking love Avatar.
Yeah, dude, me too.
Like,
and
I just love it. I think it's dope. But I think, in terms of, like...
People like to strip it down and be like, oh, it's Pocahontas with the aliens and blah, blah. I don't know. I didn't really feel... I certainly get that sort of metaphor, but I don't feel it's the... I don't feel like it's that directly. I think it has a lot of different.
It's not that just
things.
cut and dry.
Yeah, it's not.
You can look at any movie and be like, oh,
Yeah.
it's just this plus this.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
it's this story, but it's like this. It's like when all It's
Yeah, I mean that's what we do when we make them. We're like, oh, it's this plus this, just to give somebody the idea of what it is.
Yeah,
but,
get their head in the right direction.
I mean, that could have been the pitch for all we know it, you know?
Yeah, imagine if it was.
Yeah.
And all the people that made the film were like, take that, you bastards.
Yeah. Yeah, that is what it was, people. I mean, I thought it was great. I thought people always say the effects are great. That was a great cherry on top, but I thought the story was fantastic.
Yeah, and I love the cast as well. I thought, I think one of the best films ever made is probably The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. So good.
I always have to mention that as one of my favorites. It's just one of the most gripping stories ever. And it's such a fun movie, too. Andy Dufresne.
Yeah, that's so great. It's so well done. God. I mean, and it just it goes on and on, but not on and on like the way you don't want to see it. It's like on and on, like, give me more, give me more, give me more.
So much happens in that movie, but it doesn't feel as long as it is.
Yeah, it really doesn't at all.
The pacing is so fast, and the characters are so realistic, too.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting setting, like in a prison.
It's amazing that all that stuff can happen just in this really confined area like that. And then, just all, everything that comes with it, and the warden and all that stuff. It's just really, it's like real, this evil kind of guy. Yeah, it's a great film. God, that's an amazing film.
It's been a while since I've heard your answer, though, Clayton.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
So I think, on the last show, I said this, but so my favorite film is American Graffiti, but...
I remember that.
But I also have some, let's see, my other favorite, film, I think, would be The Empire Strikes Back. That's when I always say is my favorite Star Wars film, because it's like the arc. It's like the good, the first one is, Act 1, everything goes great, and then, in Empire Strikes Back, everything kind of goes down, and I really like that. I like that kind of, just, not every day is, going to be fun. Not every adventure is going to, turn out right. There's lots of twists and turns, and, that's a perfect example. All this stuff, everything goes down, all this stuff that you thought was no longer, in play. And, that's what's really cool about that. My other favorite film, I think I'll pick a recent one and say Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because that was...
Oh, I need to see that.
Dude, it was so good. It was perfectly encapsulated 1969. The way that, Tarantino always just picks wonderful music to go in a film, and then he, you get that Western feel to it. It's again like The Mandalorian. What I feel was in The Mandalorian is this Western feel, and then you get that same feel, even though it's like a modern, so it's like that modern-esque Western feel, and I really like that. Somebody walking into a town, and then there's people sitting on the porch, and you get this really bad vibe, and the music is it's just,
they're giving him the squint.
It's so powerful even now, and Tarantino does it in kind of a sort of. It's like, it could be cheesy, but it's not. He always does things like that, and it's like, he takes sort of an old way of doing things and then reworks it into something different. But it's like on the edge of being cheesy, but it's not. And that's stuff that I really like.
My favorite films from Tarantino are the Kill Bills.
Oh my God!
I love Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. Some people hate on 2. I don't know why. Because I fucking love 2.
No, that's my favorite one.
It's so good, dude. Oh man. What do they call her character?
The Black Mamba.
The Black Mamba, yeah. And then in the credits, she's just like the wife. And I love that. I love that we don't really need to know her name. We just follow this chick as the protagonist, and man, she's a badass. Yeah,
I tried to emulate a little bit of that. That was one of the inspirations for Bowden, which was which my latest film, which is about it's pretty much like Kill Bill with zombies. Or not Kill Bill with zombies, Kill Bill with Nazis.
Nazis.
But sometimes zombies are Nazis, so.
Yeah. And sometimes Nazis are zombies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy.
Zombies are Nazis and Nazis are zombies.
Yeah.
Talking about that Call of Duty Black Ops.
Yeah, that crazy shit. I sort of emulated just a little bit of that for my recent film, but that that is a great film. I love.
I still need to check out Verboten.
Yeah, check it out.
I'm so
man.
happy
check it out.
you finished it, man.
Yeah, it took a long time, but it was really worth it because.
But now it's in the bag.
Yeah, I'm glad I can move on to something else. That's the big thing. So, yeah, I'm proud of the team we had working on that, and at that point, that was before Ariana Tysinger, before she moved to L.A. and moved back. So before that whole situation, so we didn't know if she was gonna be available, and we had to get it done quick and blah 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 and that. But it really paid off. There's some good things about it and there's some bad things about it. But overall, it was a good experience.
Good experience, and you can always learn something.
Yeah, exactly. I learned a lot from that film, a whole lot.
I'm ready to see what's next.
All right, thanks, man. All right, so I think that'll about wrap it up for this evening's show. Thank you so much, Dylan, for coming on the show, and we'll see you soon out there and about there. And good luck in your future projects.
Hey, thanks so much, Clayton. It was a pleasure coming on with you, man.
All right, so that's going to do it for this week's edition of Claytonix Media Splash. I'm your host, Clayton Christopher Wood, and we'll see you next week.